The ship was bigger than anything had ever seen in her life. It floated in space like a silver mountain, with lights blinking along its sides like tiny stars. The name painted on its hull read, Horizon's Grace, and it was home to over 3,000 beings from 12 different planets. Stood at the docking bay window, her small travel bag hanging from her shoulder, and wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. She was 26 years old. She had graduated from the Cultural Exchange Academy only 2 months ago. Her teachers had called her promising and adaptable, but standing here now, watching aliens of all shapes and sizes walk past her, she felt like a very small fish in a very large ocean. A tall creature with blue skin and no hair stopped beside her. It looked down at her with 6 eyes arranged in a circle on its face. "You are the human?" it asked. Its voice sounded like wind blowing through pipes. "Yes," said. I am here for the cultural exchange program." The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Good luck, small one. The cubs have already scared away 3 caretakers this cycle." It walked away before could ask what that meant. Swallowed hard and followed the signs toward the diplomatic wing of the ship. The hallways were wide and clean. The walls showed images of different planets rotating slowly like dreams. Past beings she had only read about in her textbooks. There were the tall, thin merchants of Prime, their bodies wrapped in flowing robes. There were the small, round engineers from the Belt colonies, rolling along on their mechanical legs. Everyone seemed to know where they were going. Everyone seemed to belong. Did not feel like she belonged, not yet. She found the observation deck on level 7. The door slid open with a soft hiss and stepped inside. The room was large and round, with windows that showed the endless black of space. Stars burned in the distance like scattered diamonds. It was beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing had ever seen. And then something hit her legs, and she nearly fell over. "Human, the human is here." Looked down. A small creature was wrapped around her ankle. It was covered in soft silver-blue fur, about the size of a large cat with 4 arms and 2 legs. Its eyes were golden and huge, taking up most of its face. It looked up at her with an expression of pure joy. "Hello," said carefully. "Are you a—" "I am," the creature announced proudly. "I am 4 years old and I can already count to 1,000, and I have never seen a human before, and you smell very interesting." More creatures appeared. They came from behind chairs, from under tables, from corners had not even noticed. 12 of them in total, all covered in the same silver-blue fur, all staring at her with those enormous golden eyes. "You are our new caretaker," said the largest of them. She walked forward on all 6 limbs, moving with a grace that surprised. I am the eldest. I am 7 years old." "It is nice to meet you," said. She slowly knelt down so she was closer to their height. I will be taking care of you while your parents are in their meetings." "The last caretaker cried," said a small voice. Looked and saw 2 cubs standing very close together. They looked exactly the same. "Why did the caretaker cry?" asked. "We did not mean to break the water container," one of the twins said. "Or the chair," said the other. "Or the viewing screen," they said together. Felt a small knot of worry form in her stomach, but she kept her smile steady. She had trained for this. She had studied child psychology and alien development and cross-species communication. She could handle 12 small cubs, probably. "Well," she said, "I'm not worried about chairs or water containers. I am here to learn about you and to share things about humans. Does that sound good?" The cubs exchanged looks. Something passed between them, some silent communication that could not read. "You will tell us about Earth?" asked. "Yes." "About human food?" "Yes." "About human games and human songs and human stories?" Smiled wider, yes to all of those things. Released her ankle and bounced backward. "Then you may stay. The Council of Cubs accepts you." The Council of Cubs raised an eyebrow. We made it up, admitted, but it sounds important. Laughed. It was the first time she had laughed since leaving Earth. The sound surprised her, coming out light and easy. The cubs seemed surprised too. Their ears perked up and swiveled toward her. "What was that noise?" asked a very quiet cub in the back. He had not spoken until now. His fur was a shade darker than the others. "That was laughter," explained. "Humans make that sound when something makes us happy." "Can you do it again?" asked eagerly. "It does not really work that way. Laughter comes when—" But had already started making faces. He crossed his forearms over his head, stuck out his tongue, and wiggled his ears in opposite directions. He looked absolutely ridiculous. Laughed again. The cubs gasped with delight. Suddenly they were all making faces, all trying to be the one who made the human laugh. The twins stood on their heads. Another cub spun in circles until she fell over dizzy, maintained her dignity but allowed herself a small, silly smile. The quiet cub in the back did not make faces. He simply watched with those large golden eyes. There was something thoughtful in his gaze, something old. "What is your name?" asked him. He said softly, "Do you not want to make faces?" Shook his head slowly. "I want to understand. Laughter is from happiness, but your eyes were sad when you came in. Are you happy now?" The other cubs stopped their games. They all looked at, waiting. Felt her heart squeeze. This small creature, this child from another world, had seen right through her. He had seen the loneliness she had carried from Earth, the fear, the doubt. "I was a little sad," she admitted. "I miss my home, I miss my family, but being here with all of you—" She looked around at the 12 cubs, at their curious faces and eager eyes. "Being here with all of you is making me feel better." Walked forward and placed one of her small paws on his knee. "Then you will stay," she said. "It was not a question. You will be our human and we will be your cubs and we will make you laugh every day until you are not sad anymore." Felt tears prick at her eyes. She blinked them away quickly. "That sounds like a very good plan," she whispered. Threw all 4 of his arms into the air. "This calls for a celebration. Everyone find the comfortable pillows. We will build the fortress of welcome for our human." The cubs scattered. They dragged pillows from every corner of the observation deck, piling them into a massive heap in the center of the room. They worked together with surprising coordination, calling out instructions to each other in a mixture of their own language and the translated common tongue. Sat back and watched them. Through the windows behind her, stars continued their slow dance across the universe. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was everything she had known. But here, in this room, 12 small aliens were building her a fortress out of pillows. Maybe thought, this assignment would not be so bad after all. 3 days passed on the horizon's grace. Learned many things about cubs during those 3 days. She learned that they slept in piles, all 12 of them curled together like a ball of silver-blue fur. She learned that they could hear sounds that humans could not hear, and that they found the humming of the ship's engines to be a pleasant lullaby. She learned that they were curious about everything, and that they asked approximately 1 million questions per hour. She also learned that they had very sensitive noses. On the morning of the 4th day, arrived at the observation deck feeling tired and hungry. The ship's food was nutritious but bland. Everything was designed to be acceptable to dozens of different species, which meant that nothing tasted like much of anything. Missed Earth food. She missed the spicy noodles from the shop near her apartment. She missed her mother's cooking. She missed flavor. But she had brought something from home, something she had been saving for a difficult day. The cubs were already awake when she entered. They had arranged themselves in a circle and were playing some kind of game that involved tossing a soft ball between them using only their tails. Sat slightly apart from the others, watching as always. "Good morning, human," called out. He missed the ball and it bounced off his head. He did not seem to notice. "Good morning, everyone," settled onto the floor near the windows. Her stomach growled loudly. Every cub stopped moving. 12 pairs of golden eyes turned toward her. "What was that sound?" asked with alarm. "Are you injured? Is something wrong inside your body?" "No, no," waved her hand. "That was just my stomach. It makes that noise when I am hungry." "Your stomach speaks." Eyes went even wider than usual. "Can it say words? Can it say my name?" Smiled. "It only says one thing. It says feed me." The cubs gathered around her, fascinated by this new information about human bodies, had noticed that they found everything about her interesting. The way she walked on 2 legs, the way her hair moved, the way her skin changed color when she was embarrassed or cold. To them, she was the strangest and most wonderful creature they had ever met. "I have something from Earth," said. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small package wrapped in shiny foil. "I was saving it for a special day, but I think today might be that day." The cubs leaned forward, their noses twitched. "What is it?" asked. Carefully peeled back the foil. Inside was a bar of dark chocolate. It was nothing fancy, just a simple chocolate bar that she had bought at the spaceport before leaving. But it was real chocolate from Earth, made with real cacao beans, and the smell that rose from it was rich and sweet and wonderful. At least it smelled wonderful too. To the cubs, it seemed to smell like something else entirely. Made a sound that had never heard before. It was somewhere between a gasp and a cry and a song. His whole body went stiff. His ears stood straight up. His golden eyes filled with tears. "What?" he whispered. "What is that?" The other cubs had similar reactions. The twins gripped each other tightly. A small female named fell backward as if pushed by an invisible hand. Even, who tried so hard to be mature and dignified, was trembling. Stood slowly. He walked toward with careful steps, like someone approaching a miracle they were afraid might disappear. "It smells like colors," he said softly. "It smells like the feeling of being wrapped in warm blankets. It smells like love." Stared at them. She had read that had sensitive noses, but she had not understood what that meant. To them, smell was not just smell. It was emotion. It was memory. It was meaning. And chocolate, apparently, smelled like happiness itself. "This is chocolate," explained. "It comes from a plant on Earth called cacao. Humans eat it when we want to feel good. It is one of our favorite foods." "You eat this." His voice was filled with wonder. "You eat this feeling." "Well, it tastes good too. Here, would you like to try some?" The cubs went completely silent. For a long moment nobody moved, then stepped forward. He placed one paw over his chest. His face was very serious. "Human," he said in a formal voice that sounded strange coming from such a small creature, "you are offering to share this treasure with us." "It is just chocolate," said, a little confused by his reaction. "I have more at home. Well, not here, but on Earth there is plenty. We have whole shops that sell only chocolate." The cubs exchanged looks of disbelief. "Whole shops," repeated faintly. "Filled with this," her twin added. "Humans are very strange," said, "and very generous. We accept your gift, human, but we must do this properly." Watched with growing amazement as the cubs began to arrange themselves. They formed a line, sorting themselves by some order that she could not understand. Stood at the front. Moved to the very back, even though tried to pull him forward. "What are you doing?" asked. "We are forming the queue of worthy seekers," announced. "It is an ancient tradition. When something precious is discovered, we must approach it with respect and proper ceremony." "Is this tradition real, or did you make it up like the Council of Cubs?" The cubs looked offended. "The queue of worthy seekers is very real," said firmly. "Our parents do it when they find rare flowers or beautiful stones. It shows that we understand the value of what we are receiving." Looked at her chocolate bar. It was worth maybe 3 credits at any Earth store. She had bought it without thinking, the same way she might buy a bottle of water or a pack of gum. But to these children, it was treasure. Felt something shift inside her chest. She understood, suddenly, that value was not about money or rarity. Value was about meaning, and this simple chocolate bar had more meaning in this moment than anything she had ever owned. "Then I am honored," she said softly, "to share this treasure with the worthy seekers." She broke the chocolate bar carefully. Her fingers worked slowly, dividing it into 12 pieces. They were small pieces, barely a bite each, but the cubs watched her like she was performing magic. "Approach first." He bowed his head low, his 4 arms pressed together in front of him. He whispered something in his own language, words the translator did not catch. Then he looked up with shining eyes. "I am ready," he said. Placed a piece of chocolate in his paw. He lifted it to his nose first, breathing deeply. Then, with great ceremony, he put it in his mouth. What happened next would stay with for the rest of her life. His whole body seemed to light up from inside. His fur fluffed outward. His eyes closed. A sound came from his throat, not quite a word, more like pure joy given voice. He swayed on his feet for a moment, then sat down hard on the floor. Leaned forward with concern. "Are you okay?" "I am better than okay," breathed. "I am perfect, I am floating, I am made of starlight." The other cubs murmured with excitement. The next one stepped forward and the next, each receiving their small piece of Earth's treasure. Each one had their own reaction. The twins held hands and cried silent tears, spun in circles, unable to contain her happiness. A male named laughed and laughed, the sound bright and wild. Was last, he approached slowly as he did everything. He did not bow or speak in ancient words, he simply looked at her. "Thank you," he said. "Not for the chocolate, thank you for sharing something that makes you happy." He took the chocolate and placed it in his mouth. His eyes closed. For a moment he was still. Then a small smile spread across his face, the first real smile had seen from him. "Now I understand," he whispered, "why humans love this world of yours." Sat surrounded by 12 blissful cubs, the empty chocolate wrapper in her hands. Outside the window, the stars continued their eternal dance. She had never felt so far from home. She had never felt so exactly where she was supposed to be. The effects of the chocolate lasted for hours. The cubs lay scattered across the observation deck like fallen leaves, their silver-blue fur soft against the floor. Some of them slept. Some of them stared at the ceiling with dreamy eyes, had not stopped smiling since he swallowed his piece, and was starting to wonder if his face might get stuck that way. Sat in the middle of them all, feeling like a shepherd watching over a very happy flock. "Human," said from somewhere to her left. The eldest cub was lying on her back, all 4 arms spread wide. "Tell us more about Earth." "What do you want to know?" "Everything, tell us everything." Thought about her home planet. She thought about the blue oceans and the green forests. She thought about cities that glowed at night like fallen stars. She thought about rain and snow and sunshine. She thought about her family, her friends, the life she had left behind. "Earth is old," she began. "Humans have lived there for a very long time. We have made many mistakes. We have also made many beautiful things." "Like chocolate," murmured happily. "Yes, like chocolate, but also music and art and stories. Humans love to create things. We cannot help it. When we see something that does not exist, we want to make it real." "We are the same," said. "Love to build. Ours is covered in towers and bridges and gardens that reach toward the sky. I would like to see that someday." "You will. I will take you there. When I am old enough to have my own ship, I will bring you to my world and show you the sunset gardens." Smiled, she reached out and gently touched his fur. It was softer than anything she had ever felt, like touching a cloud. "I would like that very much," she said. The door to the observation deck slid open. Looked up, expecting to see one of the ship's crew members checking on them. Instead, she saw an adult. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with fur the color of storm clouds. His 4 arms were folded across his chest. His golden eyes swept across the room, taking in the scene. The scattered cubs, the human sitting among them, the empty chocolate wrapper still held in her hands. What happened here? His voice was deep and serious. Scrambled to her feet. Her heart began to beat faster. Had she done something wrong? Was chocolate harmful too? Had she accidentally poisoned 12 children? I am sorry, she said quickly. I shared my snack with the cubs. It was chocolate from Earth. I did not know it would affect them so strongly. Are they okay? Please tell me they are okay. The adult stared at her. Then he made a sound that took a moment to recognize. He was laughing. Human, he said, I am's father and the leader of our delegation. I came to check on the children because I sensed something unusual through our family bond. He gestured at the cubs with one arm. I expected to find chaos. Instead I find this. Are they hurt? Hurt laughed again. They are experiencing joy, pure, concentrated joy. You have given them a gift beyond price. Felt weak with relief. She sat back down, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. I thought I had done something terrible, she admitted. Walked further into the room. He moved carefully, stepping around the cubs as if they were precious objects. When he reached, he folded his long legs and sat across from her. Tell me about this chocolate, he said. So told him. She explained about the cacao plant, about how humans had discovered it thousands of years ago. She explained how they processed the beans, adding sugar and milk to create different flavors. She explained how chocolate was given as gifts on special days, how it was used to celebrate love and friendship and joy. Listened with great attention. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. In all my years of diplomatic service, he said finally, I have never encountered anything like this. We have traveled to many worlds. We have tasted many foods. Nothing has ever affected us the way this chocolate has affected my daughter and these children. Why do you think that is? Consider the question. Our sense of smell is very powerful. For us, scent carries emotion. When we smell something, we do not just detect chemicals, we feel meaning. He looked at the empty wrapper in his hands. Your chocolate carries the meaning that humans have given it. Thousands of years of joy and love and celebration. That is what my children tasted, not just the food itself, but the feelings behind it. Stared at him. She had never thought about food that way before. To her, chocolate was just chocolate, sweet and delicious and comforting. But to them, it was so much more. Father had risen from the floor. She walked to and pressed herself against his side. Father, the humans have entire shops filled with this treasure. They give it to each other freely. They do not even realize how precious it is. Is this true? Asked. Well, yes, chocolate is common on Earth. Almost everyone can afford it. We eat it whenever we want. And exchanged a look that could not read. Human said slowly, do you understand what you have done today? You have shared something precious without asking for anything in return. You have given freely without calculation or expectation. This is, he paused, searching for the right words. This is rare. In the galaxy, most species trade, they bargain, they calculate value and demand fair exchange. But you simply gave. Felt uncomfortable under his intense gaze. It was just a snack. The cubs were curious. I wanted to make them happy. Exactly, leaned forward. You wanted to make them happy. That was your only goal, not profit, not advantage, just happiness. He placed one of his large paws on shoulder. This is why humans are special, young one. Not your technology, not your numbers, your hearts, your strange, generous hearts. The other cubs were waking up now. They gathered around, pressing close to him, their small bodies seeking the comfort of an adult, but their eyes kept drifting back to. We must tell the others, said. We must tell everyone about the human and the treasure. Not yet, said firmly. First we must think. This is important. We cannot just speak about it like ordinary news. Is right, agreed. This matter requires consideration. Human, would you be willing to speak with our full delegation, to explain chocolate and to discuss what it might mean for relations between our peoples? Blinked. You want me to give a diplomatic presentation about chocolate. I want you to share your story. Nothing more, nothing less. Let my people see what I have seen today. Let them understand what kind of beings humans truly are. Looked around at the cubs, was practically vibrating with excitement. The twins were holding hands again, their eyes bright. Watched her quietly, waiting for her answer. Okay, she said. I will do it, but I should probably find more chocolate first. Whiskers twitched with amusement. I believe that can be arranged. The ship's stores include items from many worlds. We will find what you need. He stood and the cubs parted to let him pass. At the door he turned back. Human, thank you, for what you have given my daughter and these children, for what you have shown me about your species. The galaxy is very large and very old, but there is always room for wonder. He pressed one paw to his chest in what recognized as a gesture of deep respect. You have given us wonder today. Then he was gone, the door sliding shut behind him. Immediately grabbed arm. We must prepare. We must practice the cue of worthy seekers until it is perfect. The adults must see how properly we received the treasure. The cue was perfect, said with dignity. But perhaps we should also prepare a speech, something to explain the significance of the moment. I will write a poem, said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. He had never volunteered for anything before. The chocolate made me want to create something beautiful. Is that strange? Felt tears prick at her eyes again. She seemed to be crying a lot lately. But these were good tears, the kind that came from a full heart. That is not strange at all, she said. That is very human of you. The cubs looked at each other. Then, as one, they began to smile. Very human, repeated, tasting the words. I like that. I want to be very human too. You cannot be human, pointed out. You are. Then I will be both. I will be on the outside and human on the inside. He patted his chest proudly. Human heart, that is what's said. I will have a human heart. Laughed and opened her arms. The cubs piled into her embrace, all 12 of them, a heap of warm fur and happy chirps. Outside the windows the stars kept burning, the ship kept flying, the universe kept spinning. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a human and 12 alien children began to understand that they were not so different after all. The great meeting hall of the Horizon's Grace was designed to impress. It had ceilings that rose so high they disappeared into shadow. It had walls that displayed moving images of 100 different worlds. It had seats arranged in circles within circles, following some ancient pattern that was meant to show that all species were equal. Had never felt less equal in her life. She stood at the center of the hall, a small human surrounded by giants. The delegation sat in the innermost circle, their silver-blue fur groomed to perfection, their golden eyes fixed on her with intense curiosity. Behind them sat representatives from other species, the tall blue beings with 6 eyes, the small round engineers. Creatures had no names for with shapes that made her head hurt if she looked too long. Ambassador stood beside her, was older than, with gray in her hair and lines around her eyes that spoke of many years in space. She had been surprised when requested this meeting. She had been even more surprised when she learned what it was about. Chocolate, had said, her eyebrows rising toward her hairline. They want a diplomatic session about chocolate. It is more than chocolate, had tried to explain. It is about what the chocolate represents. It is about sharing and giving and the meaning behind things. Had looked at her for a long moment. Then she had smiled, a small sad smile that did not understand. You are learning quickly, had said. Most humans take years to understand what you have learned in days. The galaxy does not care about our weapons or our ships. They care about our hearts. Now squeezed the shoulder gently. Tell them your story, she whispered. Just like you told me, be honest, be yourself. Took a deep breath. The 12 cubs were sitting in a special section near the front, their small bodies practically vibrating with excitement. Gave her a thumbs up. a gesture he had learned from her and now used constantly. "Thank you all for coming," began. Her voice sounded thin in the vast hall. She cleared her throat and tried again. I am a human from Earth. I am 26 years old and I have been in space for 3 weeks. I am not a diplomat or a leader or anyone important. I am just a caretaker." She paused. They were leaning forward slightly. The other species watched with varied expressions she could not read. "When I came to this ship, I was scared. Earth was far away. Everything was strange. The food did not taste like home. The air did not smell like home. I missed my family. I missed my friends. I missed all the small things that I had never realized I loved until they were gone." Was nodding slowly. He understood. Of course he understood. "The cubs helped me. They were so curious and so kind. They wanted to know everything about humans. They made me feel welcome. They made me feel like I belonged, even though I was different from everyone else on this ship." Sat up, pride evident in the set of her small shoulders. "A few days ago, I was hungry. The ship food is very nutritious, but it does not make humans happy the way our own food does. I had brought something from Earth, a small treasure that I was saving. It was chocolate." Reached into her pocket and pulled out a chocolate bar. She had found more in the ship's stores, as had promised. This one was still wrapped, its foil gleaming under the hall's lights. "On Earth, chocolate is common. We eat it when we are happy. We eat it when we are sad. We give it to people we love. We share it with friends. It is not expensive. It is not rare. But it is precious to us because of what it means." She began to unwrap the chocolate. Even from across the hall she could see them react. Their noses twitched. Their bodies stiffened. A low murmur ran through their ranks. "When I shared my chocolate with the cubs, something happened that I did not expect. To them, the smell of chocolate was not just pleasant. It was meaningful. They could sense all the feelings that humans have put into chocolate over thousands of years. The love, the joy, the celebration, the comfort." Held up the unwrapped bar. The scent was drifting through the hall now, reaching species that had never encountered it before. "I did not know this would happen. I just wanted to share something from my home. I just wanted to make the children smile. That is all. But I learned something important that day." She looked at the cubs, at and all the others. They were watching her with such trust, such affection. They had become her family in such a short time. "I learned that value is not about money or rarity. Value is about meaning. This chocolate bar costs very little on Earth. Anyone can buy one. But in this room, right now, surrounded by beings from a dozen different worlds, it is priceless, because it carries a piece of human heart inside it." The hall went quiet. When a senior spoke, everyone listened. "Human speaks truth," he said. His deep voice filled the space easily. "My daughter and the other children experienced something profound. They did not just taste a new food. They touched human emotion directly through their sense of smell." He paused, looking around the hall. "In all our travels, in all our encounters with other species, we have never experienced anything like this." Another rose. She was older than, her fur touched with white around her muzzle. "I am Elder Myra," she said. "I have studied human culture for many cycles. I have read their histories. I have watched their entertainments. I thought I understood them." She turned to look at with something like wonder. "I did not understand them at all, not until today." "What do you understand now?" asked. The human ambassador stepped forward, her posture calm but her eyes sharp. "I understand why humans spread so quickly through the galaxy," Myra said. "It is not your technology. Many species have better technology. It is not your strength. Many species are stronger. It is this." She pointed at the chocolate bar in his hand. "It is your instinct to share, to give, to connect." "You make us sound very noble," said with a slight smile. "We are not always so generous. Humans have done many terrible things throughout our history." "All species have darkness in their past," Myra agreed, "but not all species have this light." She walked down from her seat, approaching. When she reached the young human, she knelt so that their eyes were level. "May I smell the chocolate, young one?" Held out the bar. Myra leaned close and breathed deeply, her eyes closed. Her whole body seemed to relax. "I smell warmth," Myra whispered. "I smell laughter around a fire. I smell children playing in sunshine. I smell love given freely without condition or calculation." She opened her eyes. They were wet with tears. "This is what humans carry inside them. This is your true treasure." The hall was silent, did not know what to say. She had not expected this. She had expected to give a simple explanation of what chocolate was and why the cubs had reacted so strongly. She had not expected to have her entire species analyzed and praised by beings thousands of years older than her. Broke the silence. He jumped up from his seat and ran to, wrapping all four arms around her leg. "Human is the best human," he declared loudly. "She has a very big heart and she gives good treasures and she makes the best faces when she laughs." The tension in the hall shattered. Beings of all species began to make sounds that recognized as laughter or close enough to it. Even the stern-faced Myra smiled, her whiskers twitching with amusement. "The child speaks wisdom," Myra said. "Perhaps we should all learn from his example." Looked down at his golden eyes filled with simple love, at his small body pressed against her leg. She looked up at the assembled beings, at the curiosity and warmth in their many eyes. She thought about Earth, so far away. She thought about her family, who might be sleeping right now under familiar stars. And she thought about this new family she was making, piece by piece, chocolate bar by chocolate bar. "Would anyone else like to try some?" she asked. The line that formed was the longest queue of worthy seekers the galaxy had ever seen. 2 weeks after the great meeting, received a message that changed her life. She was in the observation deck, as usual, surrounded by cubs. The routine had become comfortable now. Every morning she would arrive, and the children would greet her with happy chirps. Every afternoon they would learn something new about each other's worlds. Every evening they would watch the stars together, talking about their dreams and fears and hopes. The message came through her personal communicator, marked urgent with 3 red bands. Excused herself and stepped into the hallway to read it. It was from the Galactic Union Cultural Exchange Board. It was 17 pages long. The language was formal and complicated, but the meaning was clear. Walked back into the observation deck in a daze. Human noticed immediately that something was different. "What is wrong? You look strange." "I received a message," said slowly, "from the Cultural Exchange Board." The cubs gathered around her, concern written on their small faces. Even moved closer, his quiet eyes watching her carefully. "The delegation filed a report about what happened with the chocolate," continued. "They recommended that I be given a new assignment." His eyes went wide with horror. "They are sending you away. No, you cannot leave. You are our human." "Let her finish," said firmly, though her voice trembled slightly. "They are not sending me away," said. A smile was beginning to spread across her face. "They are promoting me. They want me to lead a new program, a program about human food and culture. They want me to travel to different worlds and share chocolate and other things from Earth. They want me to teach other species about human hearts." The cubs stared at her. "You will be famous," said softly. "I do not want to be famous. I just want to keep doing what I did with you. Sharing, connecting, making friends." Stepped forward and took his hand in 2 of her paws. "Will you forget us? When you are traveling to new worlds and meeting new species, will you forget the cubs who loved you first?" Knelt down so she was at eye level with. "I could never forget you, any of you. You were my first real friends in space. You taught me that I belonged here. How could I ever forget that?" "You have to promise," said seriously. "You have to make an official human promise." "Is there such a thing as an official human promise?" "There is now. I invented it. You have to put your hand on your heart and say the words." Laughed. She placed her hand over her heart, feeling it beat steady and strong. "I promise," she said, "that I will never forget the cubs of the horizon's grace. I promise that I will carry you with me wherever I go. I promise that when I share chocolate with new friends, I will tell them about the first queue of worthy seekers and the children who taught me what treasure really means." Nodded with satisfaction. "That is a good promise, I accept it." "I also accept it," added. One by one, all 12 cubs declared their acceptance, even though he said it so quietly that barely heard him. The door to the observation deck opened. Ambassador stepped inside, followed by an elder Myra. They were all smiling. "We heard the news," said. "Congratulations, you deserve this." "I did not do anything special," protested. "I just shared some chocolate." "You shared more than chocolate," Myra said. She moved through the cubs who parted to let her pass. "You shared yourself, your warmth, your kindness, your genuine desire to connect with beings different from yourself." She stopped in front of and placed a paw on her shoulder. "That is the most human thing of all." "They have submitted a formal request to the Union," added. "We want to establish permanent cultural exchange centers on our centers focused specifically on human food and emotional sharing. There are also requests from 7 other species," said. She was looking at with an expression that was part pride, part amazement. "All because of what happened in this room. All because a young caretaker shared her snack with some curious children." Felt overwhelmed. 3 weeks ago, she had been a nobody, a scared young human on her first space assignment, missing home and wondering if she had made a mistake. Now, she was apparently the beginning of a new chapter in galactic relations. "I do not know if I can do this," she admitted. "It is too big, I am too small." Stepped forward. He looked up at her with those thoughtful golden eyes that always seemed to see more than they should. "When you gave us chocolate," he said, "you did not think about the future. You did not plan what would happen. You just saw that we were curious and you wanted to share something that made you happy." He tilted his head. "Why should this be different?" "Because now everyone is watching. Because now there are expectations and reports and programs. So do not look at them. Look at the next person you meet. Ask yourself, what can I share with this being? What small piece of my heart can I give? Do that over and over and the big things will happen on their own." Stared at the small cub. He was 7 years old. He had known her for less than a month, and yet he had just given her the advice she had ever received. "You are remarkable," she said. "I learned from watching you," he replied simply. Threw all 4 arms into the air. "This is too much serious talking. We need to celebrate. Human, do you have more snacks?" Laughed. She reached into her bag and pulled out a package that the cubs had not seen before. It was filled with small round objects in bright colors. "These are called candy," she said. "They come in many different flavors. I was saving them for a special occasion." "This is a special occasion," bounced on his heels. "Queue of worthy seekers, reform. The human has new treasure." The cubs scrambled into line, but this time they made room at the front for others, pulled forward, dragged by his arm, and escorted Myra together. "Adults first," announced, "because today we are all seekers together." Opened the package of candy. The sweet smell filled the room. She watched as beings young and old, human and lined up to receive a small piece of colored sugar. It was such a tiny thing, a piece of candy, a moment of sweetness. But watching the joy on their faces, watching the connections form between species who had been strangers, understood what it meant. Big things started small. Galaxies began with single stars. Friendships began with single smiles. Peace between worlds could begin with a single shared snack. She reached the end of the line. Everyone had received their candy. The observation deck was filled with happy sounds, with laughter and chirps and the satisfied humming of the as they experienced human joy for the second time. Looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there were all the worlds she would visit, all the beings she would meet, all the hearts she would touch with simple acts of sharing. She was not scared anymore. She was ready. Appeared at her elbow, his mouth still purple from his candy. Human, I have a question. What is it? When you go to new worlds and share treasures with new friends, will you tell them about me? Smiled and ruffled the fur between his ears. I will tell everyone about you. I will tell them about the brave cub who formed the first queue of worthy seekers. I will tell them about wisdom and's quiet heart and the twins who cried happy tears. I will tell them that everything I do started here in this room with 12 cubs who were curious about a human and her chocolate. His chest puffed up with pride. Good, I want to be famous, but also, he hesitated. Also, I want people to know that humans are good. I want them to know that you have big hearts. I want everyone in the galaxy to have a human friend. Why? Asked softly. Because everyone should feel the way I feel when I am with you, said simply. Happy, safe, like they belong. Felt tears in her eyes again, but she did not wipe them away. Tears were just another way of sharing, another small piece of the human heart given freely. Come on, she said, scooping up in her arms. Let us go find some more snacks. I think this celebration is just getting started. As she carried the small cub across the observation deck, surrounded by new friends from a dozen different worlds, thought about all the days to come, all the queues that would form, all the treasures that would be shared. She was just one human, one small heart in a vast universe. But sometimes one heart was enough. Sometimes one heart was everything.